Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Graduated Naruto built ultimate harem with Yugito, Shizune, Tayuya, Kushina, Temari and Konan, Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. 17 years ago. Kushina-chan, please be a good girl and listen to Grandma Mito, okay? 17 years ago, a young Uzumaki girl with crimson hair and a pair of beautiful violet eyes was being brought to the village hidden in the leaf secretly. Uzumaki Kushina, the first-born child of the third Uzukage, a princess or heiress of Uzumaki clan, and it is her nature duty to protect Uzu. She was 4-year-old during that time, when she was forced to left her village and travel to an unknown place that she never heard of it. Afraid, anxious and terrified were the best emotions to describe her, but she couldn't do anything to alter the decision of her grandfather, especially not in the war era. She was first brought to Konoha after a 3 days journey, with the Second Great War just ended with the victory of Konoha. However, Konoha being the biggest winner from the war didn't mean the village was saved. Kumo, Iwa, Mizu and many other small villages that lost in this war will remember their loss in this war. Revenge will be certain in future. Besides, being the champion also didn't mean that there would be no casualty in the war. In fact, Konoha was the village with the most casualties. Konoha itself had to defend their border against the invasion of the other 3 main villages alone. Suna during that time was not able to provide much help to Konoha, as Suna was the weakest among the big 5 shinobi villages. The pressure from other hidden villages after the war was intense. Uzu, being the blood-related ally of Konoha, have decided to offer them the best terms they can provide to strengthen the alliance between 2 villages. The girl was being chosen to be the next vessel of the most powerful demon, the 9-tailed fox, Kyuubi, which was now being sealed into the old first Hokage wife Uzumaki Mito. Sensing her life will soon come to an end shortly, the old Uzumaki woman chooses to transfer the power of Kyuubi into the heiress of the main clan of Uzumaki, as they have the most potent chakra that can hold the demon at bay after she passes away. In her view, the 9 tails was the most powerful weapon that can force their opponent to calm down and think before forming another coalition force to invade Konoha. The plan was perfect and the process of tail beast transfer was also the same, but sometimes things will not go according to plan. Just after the sealing was done, spies sent by Kumo had discovered the new vessel and planned to kidnap the Uzumaki heiress when she was in no condition to fight. Luckily, the Lady Luck seems to compensate the poor Uzumaki girl. Before those spies could bring Kushina to the border, there she met the elite Anbu of Konoha and also the hero of war Namikaze Minato, aka the Yellow Flash, for the first time of her life. The hero that saved Kushina and didn't fear or scare about the power of the demon like everyone did. Instead, he was concerned about the girl's well-being and safety rather than the loss of power to Konoha if she was kidnapped. The hero also introduced Kushina to his girlfriend, who would soon be wife Uchiha Miko, the elder sister of Uchiha Makoto. After Kushina begins to settle down in Konoha, both the hero and his girlfriend decide to play the role of elder brother and sister for Kushina. Those are the happy days that Kushina remembers during her childhood day in Konoha. 14 years ago. After staying with the hero for more than a year, Kushina soon found out that she has more feelings than a sister should have toward the blonde hero. Her feelings began to change from admiration to love, not only because he is handsome, strong, but he also gave a lot of care to his friends and family. Not to mention he was being appointed to be the 4th Hokage last month. But as far as Kushina was concerned, the man she loves was almost impossible for her to reach, as Miko was married to Minato just after he was being appointed as the Hokage. The couple was happily married, but due to the strict law passed down from the Uchiha clan, their wedding was being held silently, unlike normal wedding celebrations, since the Uchiha doesn't like their own clan members to marry to outsiders, and this applies especially to the main clan family. So, only a few people know about the wedding: the family of Miko and Kushina herself. Luckily for Kushina, She may have lost the chance to marry the hero, but she wasn't called the most cunning kunoichi for nothing. The hero may be out of her reach, but what about their still unborn child? If it is a boy, the child will definitely look like his father and she will have a chance after the boy reached his adulthood. But then she will be older than him 13 years. October 10th. It should be a pleasant day for the Hokage's family and the young crimson-haired Uzumaki, as now she was rushing as fast as her feet could carry her toward the direction of Konoha. On the way toward Konoha, she keeps mumbling and complained about the stupid old hag of Uzu assign her a mission and almost let her miss the chances to see the firstborn child of the Hokage and maybe, just maybe, her future husband. However, when she reached the gate, she was shocked as there was a large hole at the village wall, and from the size of the hole she could even see the view of the village, which was burning bright as day. Invasion was all she could think. Without any hesitation, she quickly rushed into the wall. At that moment, all Konoha available ninja were being assigned to evacuate or to being sent to treat the wounded citizens. No one is there to question her rights to enter. Minato-kun, yelled Kushina in hurried, as she pushed open the door, but there was no response. She quickly dashes toward the second floor, to the master bedroom, but the scene in front of her has shocked the girl greatly and she froze. There lays the cold bodies of both Miko's parents together with a blonde figure which has the word of fourth Hokage on his back, laid his head at the side of the bed and has his blood that bleed out from his fatal wound at his back dye the floor like he is protecting the most precious thing in this world even in his death, and Miko herself was sitting on the bed while holding something closely to her. Miko, nay. As the girl quickly dashed toward the new mother, Kushina, replied the young mother weakly as she forces herself to be awake, to look at the young girl. Please. Take care of Naruto, said Miko weakly, and after she passes the still sleeping baby to her sister figure, she turns softly to her husband and silently mumble out, my love. Then her hands drop and her life faded away as she lost too much blood during the battle with several ambush foreign ninja. Watching the baby that still sleeps soundly in her arm, Kushina froze. She didn't know what to do. She was planning to celebrate with her family, but no, she was not going to stay in the village hidden in the leaf. The blonde hero she admires can't never been defeated in face-to-face combat. The only explanation that caused the death of her family, if there is some traitor in the village and giving their safe house location to the village, is a very much stupid decision. Looking once more at the baby in her arms, she decided to raise the child by herself as to protect him and also to honor the last wish of her family. So that night a crimson figure along with the still sleeping figure in her arms vanished into the darkness and left Konoha like they never been there before. 2 years ago. Ka-sama, I can see the gate now, said a 12-year-old's young boy as he pointed his finger toward the direction of Konoha excitedly. Hey, slow down a bit, Naru-chan, the young woman with crimson hair complained, who is not far behind the young blonde boy. The woman can be called hot in any ways as she has the figure of a goddess and a beautiful voice that every girl dreams of. Even her chest that was covered by her flat jacket, anyone who isn't blind can tell her that she has a gorgeous and large being covered underneath, slender long legs and also a nice and round butt that is covered by her anbu black pants. Ka-sama, hurry. Konoha. I am back, thought Kushina. Hokage Tower. There was complete silence inside the Hokage's office. The tick-tock sound that came from the old clock that hung in the cage's office can be clearly heard by all the junins that stood waiting in front of Hokage's desk. Excitement, worry and nervousness were written on their faces as they were all waiting for the result of the genin exam to be announced by Hokage. Among the group of junins there consist of many famous and powerful junins such as the copy ninja Hatake Kakashi, the former member of Fire Lord 12 Guard Sarutobi Asuma, and many more. However, none of the junins present in the Hokage office has full confidence that they can suppress the sword skill that a crimson-hair Uzumaki possess. Uzumaki Kushina. Being one of the newly appointed Junin, Uzumaki Kushina is special in many different ways than normal junins. For instance, she doesn't seem to be worried about the genin exam at all, which unlike her colleagues who has worry, nervous written all over their face, the crimson-hair Uzumaki seems to have full confidence in her son Naruto. During the first few years after losing her family figures in Konoha, Kushina felt alone and fell into depression. She hates herself for not being useful when the fourth Hokage family was being murdered. However, it was in such critical time, Naruto, the baby that Miko Ne-san entrusted to her, became the brightest star that shone upon her path. Ever since then, Kushina has been taking care of the young boy. Watching him grow up had brought her happiness back as she gradually came to realize that she couldn't let her emotions affect her anymore as it had nothing to do with him and she wanted to give him as good of a life as she could. The days without the protection of Konoha's wall were filled with hardship but also fun. It was in Naruto 4-year-olds. There was something strange that Kushina noticed as Naruto has some kind of strange potential in learning Fuinjutsu. No matter how complex the seal that Kushina gave to young Naruto, the boy will solve it like a toy without too much of a problem. This truthfully surprised Kushina back then. The young Naruto was just like the replica of his father, a true master of seal, and maybe he will excel in wind, lightning elements too. Back to the present. Today we found Kushina in the Hokage's office because she has requested to lead a genin team. It has been 10 or 11 years that Kushina had quit her shinobi life, as during her stay outside the wall, she must maintain a low profile until Naruto is old enough and is able to handle himself better before she decides to go back to Konoha to rejoin the shinobi force. This was her plan as she wishes to train her son furthermore under Konoha's protection. She knew that her news will immediately be told to the world when she steps foot in Konoha. The title of Nine Tails holder will benefit herself and Naruto under the protection of Konoha. That was the main reason for her return, but aside from that, Kushina also has met some small issue. The pent-up frustration in her life has also become one issue for her. It only got worse when Naruto, who she treats as her own, has slowly grown into the perfect replica of his father, who she was in love with. It is nature for teenage boy to be curious about, but through recent activities Kushina has caught that her son staring at her figure several times and in a perverted way. Although Kushina wouldn't mind too much since this makes her feel more confident in her looks, and she is certain that Naruto will be happy if he was being assigned to her team. Not to mention, Kushina has also planned on giving some special training to assist Naruto to become stronger. Meanwhile at the academy, Inuzuka Kiba, the noisiest brat in the class, and was grumbling about being on the same team as his self-proclaimed rival Sasuke. Alright everyone, settle down, now I am going to continue the announcement of team placement. The teacher ordered. The result was very effective and had every student immediately shut up and sit still in their seat. While most clan-based genin had known their team placement already, the teacher still insisted on finishing the announcement quickly so that the Jonins could come and take their genin. Team 9 is just Naruto and your sensei is Kushina Uzumaki, stated the class teacher. Once the announcement of Team 9 is done, every student in the classroom immediately turns their head toward the blonde. The boys that had all met Kushina at one point felt jealous and envious that the boy gets the hottest MILF as his sensei. As for Naruto, he knew what everyone thought about his mom, as he often had similar thoughts about her, and he wasn't oblivious to the looks she got. Unfortunately for every boy in the class, none of them even had a chance to be with her, as his sensei was just way out of their league. Naruto chooses to ignore all the jealous glare he receives from his fellow genin. Honestly, like every guy in the village is trying to date his mom, and she was in all the dreams that every man can dream of. Although Naruto will also ogle Kushina sometimes, especially when she was walking around the house with just a simple t-shirt and shorts, he didn't push his luck with trying anything else. He does spend a lot of his time training and studying to distract himself, but mostly he is sure that his mom is trying to tease him, as sometimes she decides to wear some revealing clothes in the house. Seriously though, since a lot of guys in class learned about masturbation, Kushina was often on their minds, and Naruto got to see his buxom mom all the time, so she is always on his mind. Why can the blonde brat get to have the hottest MILF as his personal sensei? complained the angry Inuzuka heir just after Aruka declared all of the team's replacement and walked out of the class. Seriously though, I would bang the MILF if I was being assigned into her team. Sitting in his seat, the Inuzuka heir continued his complaint without a care of the consequence of his words. Unknown to him, the next thing he said about Kushina would reward him with a face massage on the floor. Back to the Hokage office. Hiruzen, do you think it is really a wise idea to let Kyuubi take on a team? Asked the old war hawk and also the old teammate of the third Hokage Danzo to his old friend and teammate. I know what you are thinking, Danzo. I have mentioned it before and I will do it again. Kushina is a fellow shinobi of Konoha. You should not refer to her as Kyuubi, understood? Quote. The old Hokage said sternly, not even sparing his gaze to the old war hawk, and carried on with his work. Hiruzen, you do know the power that the Nine Tails holds. The old war hawk threatened and brutally smashed his palm onto the table. It was his plan to take control of the Tails beast. His first step was to force the old Hokage to imprison the Jinchuriki, but the result was always the same. Tell me, Danzo, do you really think that I haven't considered the danger of the Nine Tails? But do keep in mind that she was an ally of Konoha, the fourth family member and also a citizen of Konoha. Replied the old Hokage, moving his gaze from the stack of paper to his old friend. My duty as Hokage is to keep the village safe. Kushina is a trustable shinobi and also a close family member related to the first and second Hokage. I will not imprison a loyal shinobi of Konoha out of my own power hunger. The third Hokage retorted with a stern face while releasing a large amount of ki toward the old war hawk, forcing him to take several steps backward and shutting up his mouth. I will pretend this conversation never happens. You may leave now, my friend, the old Hokage said and gestured to his old teammate to leave his office. You will regret this, I am certain of it, Hiruzen, was all the old war hawk said before he slammed the door. With Kushina amp, Kurenai. Hey Kurenai, are you okay? You look a bit discouraged, is there something wrong? The crimson hair Uzumaki asked while ignoring all the leering civilians that were looking at her bouncing sometimes. She did appreciate the looks as it made her realize that she wasn't an old hag just yet, but her DD cup were slightly annoying even beneath her flak jacket as they wouldn't stop bouncing even if she bound them. And no, well it's my first team and I'm given one clan heir and one heiress of the famous Hyuga clan, but with none of them being genjutsu user. But I will try my best to teach them to be a skillful shinobi. The crimson-eyed woman answered, but her actions said otherwise, as she has been shaking for the past 1 minute, which was quite expected, since Kurenai only became a Junin quite recently. Kushina herself was also a freshly promoted Junin and she was curious about her team, but at least she is certain that she will get her Naru-chan in her team, so there is nothing to be worried about. While trying to comfort the nervous Kunoichi, she suddenly senses a familiar chakra that belongs to a certain snake lover, coming up from behind and most likely with the intention of squeezing her like she usually tried. With a sigh, Kushina decided to sidestep at the last minute and had Anko to grab onto Kurenai's instead of her. Anko! Yelled out the new Junin sensei, which surprised some peasant that was just walking by. Mu no fun Kushi-chan, why are you always so aware of me? Oh. Let me take a look at your teams, are there any future or current studs? The excited snake lover lady said. Before Kurenai and Kushina can say anything, Anko has grabbed onto Kurenai's team placement sheet and stated looking for Kushina's, but realized that she didn't have one. Looks like Kur-chan was the lucky one. You got 2 young boys on your team, but then again don't feel sad Kushi-chan, you never know, there could be 3 young male stud on your team Kushi-chan. The playful Anko teased with a grin, like suggesting a seductive hint towards some fun. Kushina knew where she was going with this and surprisingly she was quite calm about it. Yeah, thanks Anko, but I didn't really need to know that. Kushina replied dryly as she shook her head. Oh, too bad. Oh, or do you want me to introduce you to some other students? I'm sure they would love to be trying with you. The pervert snake user Anko suggested with a smirk. Anko, you do know that I have my Naru-chan and I don't think that I would have anyone to touch me. Kushina replied with an annoyed tone, but the snake user didn't really pay any attention to her. Yeah, but honestly, are you really satisfied? I mean, how long has it been since you got laid? And you won't even tell us who is the father of your Naru-chan. Anko continued her suggestion, but only for Kurenai to cut in and cover her mouth with her hand, in order to shut her up. That's enough. Anko. Kurenai warned as Anko seemed to be getting carried away in her teasing, and she failed to sense that the crimson hair Uzumaki is going to explode if this keeps going on. We will see you then. Goodbye, Kushi-chan. Kurenai said in a hurry before shunshin away with her friend. She is quite aware what an angry Uzumaki can do. Sigh. Is it really a good idea to lie about Naru-chan's true heritage? Watching both women leave, Kushina then proceeds to the academy. Naru-chan should be treated nicely and not to be thought of as the son of some unknown civilian. He is the son of the hero, damn it. Kushina complains innerly, along her way to the academy, and 15 minutes later she has arrived at the academy. Well, at least I will have my Naru-chan in my team. Kushina mumbled as she walked into the academy. Academy. Class 8. Class 8. Mumble Kushina as she is now walking along the corridors in the academy while searching for her Naru-chan class. Class 8. Bingo. Just when she opened the door, she was shocked to see her son pin down the heir of Inuzuka on the floor with no mercy, like he was going to kill him. You shall pay for the sentence you used to describe my mom. Naruto. Kushina warned, and this caught everyone's attention, which also included the blonde heir, to release Inuzuka heir in surprise. Looking at the Inuzuka heir, Kushina decides to hand this problem to the Inuzuka Genin's teacher, as now she is only here to pick up her team. Alright, Team 9. Come to training ground 9 and you have 10 minutes. Said Kushina, finished off with a last glance towards Naruto before she left in a gust of wind. She didn't know who was on her team, so she just announced loudly and left, that way she could meet them and get introductions going without all the boys ogling her in class. Wait, Ka-sama. Naruto yelled as he tried to explain, but his mom already disappeared, deciding that he will need to explain the whole situation to his mother first before things get out of control. The blonde quickly did a shunshin and appeared at Training Ground 9. Training Ground 9. Kushina was waiting on the log, but just when she decided to pull out her stopwatch, another swirl appeared in front of her. Well done, Naru-chan, looks like you have fully mastered the skill of shunshin. Kushina praised with a smile. Thank you very much, Ka-sama. Sensing that she is not mad with his previous action, the blonde's voice sounded very giddy, almost like he was excited around her and she was unsure about it, but she might know the reason why he was so excited. So Naru-chan, are you the only member in my team? Ka-sama, Iruka-sensei said that I am the only one on Team 9 inches. Really? So that old man do really keep his promise. Alright, that's just good news. Now I get to spend more time with you, and maybe have some special training. Oh, teasing Naru-chan is going to be so much fun. Of course, the last part is only the thoughts in the mind of Kushina. Anyway, Naru-chan, let us start off by giving a short introduction of yourself. Here I will start. My name is Uzumaki Kushina. As you know, I am your mother and now your sensei, so please just call me Kushina-sensei or just sensei. As for what I like my little Naru-chan. What I dislike though are traitors and old war hawk. Kushina said, and the war hawk in her words is already quite easy to figure out who she was referring to. Dreams for the future? Well, not really sure. To train you to be the perfect hero. Databane. As for hobbies, I don't really have time for that since I am a shinobi, so I don't have much time for those. Kushina said happily before she turned to her son. Alright, you're up, Naruto. Okay. My name is Uzumaki Naruto and I like my mom, ramen, and now my new gorgeous sensei as well. A small smile appeared on Kushina's face and even a little pink color. she was a little weak to such blunt compliments, especially from her Naru-chan. My hobby is training and other sort of things. The young blonde said with some faint blush as he lowered his gaze from his sensei. As for my dream for the future is that I want to become the strongest shinobi and can protect everyone that I hold previous. Kushina smiled as she would love helping him achieve that. It was all in her plan as he is now slowly becoming the hero she hoped for and she was sure he would get there as long as he kept his never give up attitude. Well, thank you for that, but now Naruto, can you tell me why you pinned the Inuzuka heir on the floor? Kushina asked with a sudden change of her attitude and spoke in a serious tone that Naruto knew that he couldn't lie to her. The blonde decided to tell his sensei the truth. Well, it's just that Ka-sama. He calls you a whore. That could spread her legs for anyone and that's how I was born. The young blonde teen mumbled and prepared to be scolded, but instead a soft hand gently touched his cheeks and made him look at his beautiful mother. I am glad, Naru-chan. I know you wouldn't hurt people randomly, but next time please be careful, okay? You getting hurt is the last thing I ever wish for, okay? Kushina said, but inwardly, she was dancing all around and she is glad that her Naru-chan will choose to protect her without second thought. I will, Ka-sama. Okay. Now on to the less fun part, your test. Wait, what test? The young blonde asked in surprise. Well, out of all 28 genins we have to cut down the number as to maintain the potential of each shinobi generation, although I have full aware that you are far powerful than a genin, but you will still need to take a test first. Kushina explained with an assured smile as she then zipped down her flak jacket and took off her blue blouse, leaving her in her sports bra. Naruto's eyes almost burst out from his socket as he watched his beautiful mom strip in front of him, since Kushina showed a good portion of her cleavage. Although he always tried to not eye his mom inside their house, but now his mind is going blank as his attention was being glued onto the beautiful cleavage of Kushina and put everything his sensei said before to the side. Kushina was standing only in her black sports bra with same black form-fitting pants that reached her ankles and her hair was put in a ponytail that was reaching her waist. Hey, attention up here, Kushina said with a whilst smirk. Seeing Naru-chan's intentions became clearer to her with each passing second, so she clapped her hands to get his attention from her to her face. Kushina was quite surprised that Naruto was being really straightforward today. He wasn't hiding his thoughts from her. And no, she was not angry with this, instead she felt happy that the boy is interested in her body. For the next 3 hours we are going to play tag, everything is allowed, I won't block or attack, only dodge so you can come at me as soon as I say go, and of course there is a punishment in the end for you if you fail, do you understand? Kushina explained as she saw her son still has his focus on her but was able to give a nod to her. Mom, sensei please forgive me, but how big are they? Naruto asked with a bit of shyness while leering at her cleavage. She hadn't reprimanded him for eyeing her, so he might as well take the blunt approach. He has seen her in less clothes, but now seeing her mom in her sports bra was just something he ever wanted. Naruto, seriously. You are being brave today, but you really seem curious. So just because it's you, I'll tell you they are a 40DD, and tell you what, if you manage to lend a hit on me within 2 hours I will give you a reward. Kushina teased with a sly smirk as she squeezed her together and pushed them up more for her Naru-chan to view. Yes, sensei. The blonde yelled so loudly that she was shocked. Well, at least she was now sure that her trick worked. Naruto was just excited. This was turning out to be way better than he expected. Alright, ready, go. Kushina declared before she disappeared in another gust of wind, and Naruto quickly sprinted to look for her like everyone would if they were in the same situation. Thinking that she knew well about Naruto's ability, Kushina decided to hide for the first half hour to enjoy her lunch before she decided to come out in the middle of clearing in the woods. And there she sat down and waited for Naruto to come, but surprisingly after an hour passed her son still hadn't shown up, as this began to make Kushina worry. Crack. Suddenly, there was a cracking sound on the floor. As her instinct kicked in, Kushina quickly performed a backflip to dodge the ambush, only to find out later that it was her son breaking off the ground and running straight toward her. Kushina quickly took a stance and be ready to run, but instead of running on full speed to catch up his sensei, the blonde raised up a hand seal. Fuinjutsu 6 Diagram Seal. The blonde exclaimed, and almost instantly 6 pillars rose up from the ground and were linked up by chakra lightning, trapping Kushina and himself in it. Kushina was surprised as her son managed to do such a seal array. However, when she was being distracted, she failed to notice a shadow clone shooting up from the ground. She barely dodged it, and when she did, the original was in front of her, reaching for her, well, not surprising her in the least. With a backflip, she quickly dodged the original's attack. Impressive. Who taught you this, Naru-chan? Kushina asked as she looked at the electric array that formed by the seal. Well, I learned it from the old clan scroll, and it really took me a lot of time to prepare the seal. Truly impressive. Even myself can't make such seal when I am in the age of Naru-chan. It was impressive enough that he even calculate that I may use Tail Beast's power to break the seal, so he used the exactly seal that can contain Tail Beast to capture me. Kushina thought with amusement as she examined the seal array, and she was very impressed by Naru-chan's work. But Naru-chan, do you know what's the weakest point of this seal? Kushina asked with a sly smile as she squeezed her together and quickly caught Naruto's attention. Is it need a lot of concentration? Kushina said with a smirk as she suddenly took a U-turn and broke through the first array when her son was being distracted, but was immediately faced with the second barrier. Phew. Good thing I have prepared a second one. Naruto thought. If his sensei really managed to escape, his 1-hour work would be in total waste. Yield, sensei. Naruto orders with full confidence. Oh, then make me. Kushina replied with a slight teasing flash for Naruto before she ran toward the blonde, as if the seal he was holding drops, the whole array will be gone too. Sensing the attack, dozens of Naruto's clones didn't waste any time and came straight at her, but clearly letting their desire to win, as they were all drooling while the real Naruto just stared at her from some distance. Dodging all clones like it was nothing, just when Kushina almost reached the original Naruto, who was still holding the seal. To her surprise, the real Naruto suddenly releases his seal. I win! Naruto exclaimed happily as Kushina turned her head back. She couldn't believe that the real Naruto had his hand on her shoulder and was actually hidden among the clones to make her believe that the real one is holding the seal and to be careless of her back. Few moments later, Naruto sat with his back up against a tree, trying to regain his breath. Kushina had given him a lunchbox she had brought for him, and today's test only amazed her more about her Naru-chan true potential in the art of seals. So sensei, what did I get? The blonde asked excitedly with a smile. Kushina then signaled the blonde to come over. Naru-chan, seeing you are so obsessing with my, how about I will allow you to have a touch of my for 2 minutes. This causes the blonde's face to turn into a full mature tomato as his hand slowly moves toward his sensei's gorgeous. So enjoy your reward, Kushina said as she grabbed Naruto's hand and directed them to her big soft. Of course she was still keeping her sports bra on. He looked amazed when his hands sank into them, and Kushina also stated her stopwatch. Naruto was dazed at the softness as he didn't try squeezing them, so she barely felt anything. I don't have to tell you that you can't tell anyone about this, do I? She asked, and he quickly swore he would tell no one. Kushina replied with a smirk on her face as Naruto pushed her together. He looked surprised at what she was saying, but Kushina couldn't pass up this chance of having fun with her cute little Naru-chan. But inside Kushina's mind she is also going to explode, as this is the first time that she ever allows a boy to touch her, and she is also very nervous and forgets the time until the stopwatch signals her time up. Time's up, Kushina said as she tried her best not to blush in front of her Naru-chan. When Naruto dropped his hands and caused her to bounce, she almost moaned out, but luckily Naruto's attention was on following her movement with his eyes glued. Now that she knew that Naruto would be extremely motivated to get these kinds of rewards from her, she was going to exploit it to the fullest. Besides, no one would find out. So let the fun begin. Kushina waited patiently in the Hokage office once again, but this time they were waiting for all genin team leaders to report back their team test result. Being the one and only famous, went missing in my journey of life, or I had to help an old granny to cross the road, ninja, the famous copy ninja Kakashi was once again, the last one arrived. I am sorry, there was a black cat on my path. The copy ninja said with a smile while scratching his head, which of course has all the jonin in the room to roll their eyes. They have heard this excuse more than enough already. With the copy ninja finally appearing in the Hokage office, the awkward tension in the room has dropped a bit. Hokage then instructed the first team leader to report the test result of their team. Team 1 failed, reason they were lack of any actual shinobi skill other than the 3 academy jutsu. This process was taking longer than Kushina expected. The first 5 teams had all failed their genin, and unsurprising enough that the 6th team test result was a failure too. This failed result announcement was being carried on until the Team 7 leader Hatake Kakashi, which had Kushina looking toward the copy ninja as he steps forward. Team 7 is a pass. The famous copy ninja announced, which causes the Crimson Uzumaki to raise her eyebrow, as this announcement has also surprised some jonin presented. She and others were all quite surprised that Kakashi would actually pass a team that have almost zero, or in better turn non-existence teamwork. Last time they heard, the Uchiha heir being the most prideful one and Inuzuka heir being the most arrogant one almost bites each other head off just for some tiny thing. Iruka has also described them as cat and dog duo. Team 8 has passed. It was not until Team 8 leader Yuhi Kurenai made her announcement on her team result that brought everyone back from surprise to reality. Unlike Kakashi's team, Kurenai's Team 8 result was quite expected. Kushina gave her friend a thumbs up. It seems like Kurenai did better than she thought she would. Finally, it was Kushina's turn and she took a step forward. Team 9 passed with flying colors. Kushina announced the statement proudly, as her son is more likely to be at least Chunin level now. Before she took a step back, the last team, Team 10, which was led by Asuma, has passed too. Clearly Asuma seems to be happy of teaching the next generation Shikai no Cho. Very well then, I shall take that this year we have 4 new genin teams. Good work. Sandame Hokage said with a nod and instructed Iruka sensei to record down the result. Before he dismissed everyone except Kushina, she was quite surprised but has some idea for the reason why she was left behind. Kushina, how are you feeling? I know getting back into the swing of being a shinobi can be difficult, especially after being inactive for so long. Do you know the reason why I decided to put Naruto into your team? Sarutobi asked with a warm smile, like an old grandfather talking to his grandchildren, while Iruka sensei took out Naruto's academy result from the stack of paper. Of course, Hokage-sama, and don't worry, I'm just fine. I am also fully aware about the reason. Naruto is getting pretty good with his shinobi skills and especially in seal art. Kushina replied formally, with the old Hokage nod in reply while examining the said blonde academy result. Overall, Naruto's result is a bit terrified, as his sword skill is at a level, seal art A+ level and taijutsu A level. This level of power is quite unusual for an academy student. Sure, there were some prodigies such as the 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato or the Uchiha clan prodigy Uchiha Itachi, but none of them can master their seal art to such excellence in Naruto's age. That's good to hear. Naruto boy is growing up stronger each day. He will surely be an elite Konoha shinobi in no time. The Hokage said with a grandpa smile, which made Kushina prouder. If there is nothing more, Hokage-sama, then I will get going because Naruto is probably waiting for me at home, and thank you for putting Naruto on my team. Kushina said before she gave a bow to the old Hokage and disappeared by a shunshin, which left the old Hokage and the academy both in the office. Somehow, Naruto boy does give me a familiar feeling. The old Hokage thought and turned his attention to the Hokage monument. Naruto, he does seem a lot like young Minato back then, smart, skillful and powerful. I wonder. Uzumaki Mansion. Despite years of leaving Konoha with the old Uzumaki Mansion being destroyed in the war, once the news of Kushina returned to Konoha being sent to Hiruzen, the old Hokage immediately ordered his shinobi to repair the destroyed Uzumaki Mansion, which was almost just left with a pile of stone structure. In the end, the Hokage decided to build a new one for Uzumaki. The new Uzumaki Mansion was being moved to a land near the Hokage Monument. The land was originally under 4th Hokage, but after his death and has none descendant left, the land was then being chosen to build the new Uzumaki Mansion. The mansion was being decorated beautiful as the moment anyone entered there was a big open lounge with a beautiful cream-colored marble floor and the walls were painted white with a few gold trims and there were many different family portraits hanging in all the rooms, which most of them are Uzumaki that can be traced back to earlier time of Konoha founded era. There were 2 different floors and there were more rooms than they could make use of. Her bedroom is on the 1st floor along with Naruto's with 2 bathrooms in each room. Kitchen and dining room were on the ground floor and they even had a basement with an outdoor hot spring and an indoor training facility which was reinforced by seals to contain most high-ranked jutsu scrolls, books and weapons. There was also a small armory with all the scrolls, weapons and gear to name a few types of things that were kept in it, and of course it was locked with a blood seal so that no one but Naruto and Kushina or blood-related members could unlock it. Kushina could tell her son had already come home as she saw his slippers at the front of the door. The Uzumaki then decided to prank her son a bit by using a stealth walk during her way up to the stairs and towards her son's room to check on him. When she is just in front of Naruto's room, she slowly and carefully turns the door before looking into his room, which was not spiringly decorated with bright white walls and one flame orange wall since he quite liked the color. He had a wide bed in the middle against the back wall with a desk to the bed's right and a wardrobe on left which was filled with his clothes along with a few pair of his favorite full black trousers and tank tops. Naru-chan, I am home, Kushina said happily after she creeped toward her son and surprised her son who was in the middle of doing something without noticing her enter. Ah, Ka-sama, the blonde yelled as he was almost scared to death by his mom's childish action. Although this is not the first time that his mom decided to prank him, this time, he was really focused on something that he failed to notice her presence. Hehe. Sorry my dear Naru-chan, I am just here to tell you we will be having ramen for tonight's dinner, Kushina said while roughing up her son's hair. Thanks mom, you're the best, Naruto said before joining Kushina as they went to the kitchen to prepare dinner. Kitchen. Kushina and Naruto sat at their kitchen table, both having devoured 5 bowls of ramen already. It seems the boy has totally inherited his mother's love for ramen. Both of them were well on their way to finishing their 6th bowl. So, Naruto, is there anything you can tell me about today's training? I'm a little curious, Kushina asked, wondering if she could catch some interesting information out of her son. Well, today's training does remind me that the more complex the seal array, the more chakra I will need to apply, especially when I don't have the seal written on paper, Naruto said while beginning to recall today's training. But, I did enjoy the reward from you. I finally got to touch my first and, I can't believe how soft they are, the boy said with his voice becoming quieter and his face blushing bright red. The mention of the reward word has also made the said Uzumaki blushing bright red, which she tried her best not to show it, but the good thing was that Naruto was not looking at her but lowering his head and looking in his bowl. Oh my god, what should I do? Should I praise him? What should I do? The said Uzumaki began to brainstorming about what phrase should she use next. To be honest, she did enjoy the reward she shares with Naruto, but she herself was also too embarrassed to directly admit it out. Will you quiet down, mortal? Come from the reply of an annoyed Nine-Tails fox who was being awoken by the said Uzumaki who behaved just like a high school girl. What should I do, furball? Kushina asked with nervous, which the Nine-Tails fox just replied her with an annoyed sound of, tch. Troublesome human. Fine. I will help you, just don't bother me later, the nine-tails fox said and released his chakra through the channel. During all this time, Naruto himself was not doing any better. He was also too embarrassed to look at Kushina right now. This was his first time to feel a woman's, and he doesn't know how to tell Kushina that he wishes to have this reward thing continue into their training. Naruto-kun, but he was brought out of his thoughts when he felt a hand gently touch his face. Turns out it was Kushina who was gently caressing his face with a seductive smile. Before Naruto could question the sudden change of Kushina's eyes, he was surprised by the thing that Kushina said later. Naruto-kun, you know that we have to keep this little secret between us, don't you? I know exactly what you are up to in your spare time, so I decided to help you in this way. I promise you that we will have more reward in the following training, but you have to promise me that you wouldn't try anything funny when we are not training, got it? Kushina asked while gently caressing Naruto's right cheek, which sent an electric jolt down his spine. Yes, I got it, and thanks mom, I love you. I promise no one will find out. Naruto assured her with uncontrollable excitement, which almost has his legs knocked onto the table. Their fun was just starting. There was no way in hell that he would let anyone spoil their fun or mess this up. Good boy, now go clean your dishes and go to your room, I am going to take a bath later, Kushina said, which Naruto replied with an immediate action and rushed to clean his dishes before heading up to his room. Later that night, as Kushina laid down in her bed, her mind began to wander back to when she asked Kyuubi to help her. And it turns out to be a bad idea, as all the memory of her action has rushed back to her at once. Will you just keep it down, Kushina? It was bad enough to be sealed inside a human, now I even have to listen to your fangirl complaining, the nine-tails fox grumbled, but secretly he has made one additional mark on the wall that keeps him. Kushina -0, Kurama 1. Having her face brighten up like a tomato, Kushina is currently rolling around her bed as she recalled she let Naruto fondle her earlier during the day. At least he likes it. Right. Bringing her hands to her, Kushina began to check them. They were still as firm, perky, and were certainly grown bigger. She couldn't help the warmth that enveloped her body as she thought about how happy it made her that Naruto appreciated her body so much. Kushina felt so lonely since Minato had died. Sure, she loved him for who he was. She'd be lying if she denied that the way Naruto looked at her and admired her body didn't excite her to some degree. She felt so excited from such a dirty act, but if letting her boy play around with her once and it will help him improve as a ninja, it shouldn't matter too much. There comes a day when Naruto will get some experience pleasing a woman, and she would get to help him become a strong shinobi. It took roughly half an hour before Kushina could fall asleep, her mind unable to forget the events that happened. Next morning, Kushina woke up at exactly 7 a.m. and she quietly got up from the bed. She made her way to the bathroom to brush her teeth and take a quick shower. When she had showered, she then grabbed some clothes. Although her Naru-chan had been a little too distracted yesterday, not she did mind, but she decided to wear black cargo pants and a red sports bra, and also decided to put a gray t-shirt over it this time. Her hair was in a perfect ponytail reaching her waist and her headband sat perfectly on her forehead. She also placed some resistance seals on her legs and cranked them up to resistance level 5, which was equivalent to her trying to walk through water. With one last look in the mirror, she gave hair a little smack and gave herself thumbs up before going downstairs for breakfast. She wanted Naruto to be punctual and get organized on his own, which is why she didn't even go near his room to wake him, because if he was still asleep then she would come back and drag him herself, but knowing him, he was most likely long gone. She then decided to leave the house and made her way through the village until she got to the training ground while thinking of more ways to motivate her Naru-chan. Unknown to her, she was blushing crazy outside just by thinking about what she could do with Naruto. This caused some female civilians to think she was sick and have some man quietly adore her blushing face. Training ground. When she arrived at training ground 9, Kushina immediately spotted Naruto, who was already waiting for her and doing some stretches to help loosen up his muscles. Good morning, Naru-chan. Kushina greeted happily, even though Naruto has told her many times not to call him Naru-chan in public, but she never changes it, and after a long time of argument, the said blonde can only accept that his mom will never change. Good morning, sensei. The blonde replied as he tried but failed to hold eye contact with his mom without blushing while recalling last night's conversation. Care for me to join you? Kushina asked before she began to stretch alongside a blushing Naruto, who couldn't help but stare at his sensei, as she stretched alongside him, especially when she got him to help with a particular stretch that required her to go from her stomach to being on all fours. With him just beside her watching as her delicious was only centimeters away. After a while, Kushina got on all fours and told him to get behind her. He did as she asked and failed to move his gaze away from Kushina. Plump Roundwick was almost made touched with his waist. She then smoothly touched the ground with her toned stomach, and then Naruto helped her get back up on all fours, and it was incredibly hot seeing her cargo pants straining around her tight, further arousing him more as his face is blushing crimson. So what are we going to do today, sensei? Naruto asked, as he quickly changed the topic while trying to hide his blush away from his mom, which was quite noticeable by Kushina and had her smirk playfully. Well, how about we cover some basics first before we start doing anything? Oh, try to catch up to me, Naru-chan. Kushina teased with a wink before she stated, dashing off, and of course as soon as she had said that, Naruto quickly followed behind Kushina but stayed a few steps behind so that he had a clear view of her firm. They were heading toward the lake where she would take a small break before starting another exercise that she planned last night. When they were halfway was the first time she turned around to look at Naruto, and the said blonde immediately met her eyes, making it obvious as to where he was looking before she turned. When they finally came to a stop, Naruto just sat down, or in better terms almost fell on his butt to slow down his breathing. Recalling his decision on putting on the LV9 resistance seal was a really bad idea, while Kushina went to get something to drink. Alright, Naru-chan, now for your second test. The crimson-haired Uzumaki said in a rather cheerfully tone, despite just being through a rather exhausted exercise. What is it, sensei? The blonde asked, as he has no problem doing long run, if without LV9 resistance seal, since his usual training was much harder than this and his stamina was quite astounded to Kushina as he was really exceptional. He could train for hours without breaks and still be willing to do more, which made her think about how long he would last when having. She couldn't deny that she did feel a little excited at the thought. Yes, now I suggest you strip down to your boxer. That caused Naruto to blush, and despite him trying to hide his blush, but he couldn't stop himself to thinking about some activity with Kushina. Sure, he is inexperienced as he had only the basic knowledge of, but he is still very nervous. Naruto quietly obeys the order and slowly gets out of his clothes, showing his developing but lean muscles. Alright, Naruto, you know from yesterday that I rewarded you with a big gift, so today I want you in 30 minutes. You have to swim across this lake and then water run back here where you will do 50 push-ups, and then repeat. If you succeed in doing 5 laps, you will get rewarded, but if you don't even manage 3, you will be punished. Understood? Kushina instructed as she took out her stopwatch. And do try your best and not disappoint me. I would love to help you finish your drawing, you know. Kushina teased seductively and gave a wink to poor Naruto, who almost got his erection visible from his pants. When Kushina declared start, Naruto quickly dived into the water. If you were to get 5 laps, you would have to get each lap in 6 minutes, which did seem like a lot but should be easy for Naruto. However, this exercise quickly drains energy, and after 2 laps she will see if he will easily be able to do it. While Naruto is doing his exercise, Kushina has created a clone to keep track of Naruto while herself was also doing her own exercise, like doing reps, waterfall walking. Halfway through, Kushina has her sweatpants and shirt stated to cling to her body with all the sweat being absorbed into them. Roughly 20 minutes later, Kushina had finished her last set of exercises. She laid down on the grass, heaving for air, as her entire body was covered in sweat. Even her beautiful red hair was covered in sweat as it stuck to her body. During her exercise, her clone watched extra carefully, knowing Naruto would be trying his best, so she just wanted to see his physical capability. Naruto finished his first round quite fast, in just 3 minutes, as he quickly threw himself down onto his stomach and began doing push-ups before jumping back into the lake. Kushina found herself twitching nervously and excitingly when she took the paper from her clone, and as the clone disappeared, she saw her Naru-chan going with confidence in his stride. So he does really want to finish the drawing, and this make her more happier. But what she's going to reward him today? Does he wants the reward just as yesterday, or something else maybe? Naruto used 3.5 minutes swimming across. He ran around the lake for his last lap, and he quickly fell down on his knees, starting on his final push-ups. 5 minutes left, Naru-chan. She reminded him teasingly as he strained his muscles to push himself up, while he stated to steady his breathing with each push-up. When he finally finished, he fell to the ground on his back and his head turned to look at his beautiful sensei. "So how did I do?" Naruto asked nervously, thinking about the reward he will get from Kushina. "Well done, Naru-chan, you did it with 4 minutes left. I am so proud of you," Kushina said happily as he hugs Naruto tightly before leading him into the forest. From what she knew about yesterday's meeting, the third Hokage's crystal ball could only see individuals from a certain distance. It could never see close up, so Kushina knew with the trees covering them, the third would be unable to see what she was about to do. "Here's your reward, but you are only to look but not touch," Kushina said seductively as she gives a wink and quickly strip off her t-shirt, and this disappointed Naruto slightly, but honestly, he was fine with just looking at his goddess of a mom. However, when Kushina pulled up her red sport bra too, Naruto was shocked, as now she is leaving her bare beautiful to heaved up and down with every breath she took. Her pink S looked delicious, as if they were made to be on, and the small beads of sweat that were still rolling down her skin made her glisten. The twins were big, plump, and looked heavy. Her small areola and S were rosy pink. Oh, there are many things that he wanted to do to them. Do you like them?" asked Kushina nervous and excitedly, as she isn't sure what to feel right now, as she didn't even know why she has the courage to show her to her Naru-chan so straightforward, and not to say she has never let anyone see her like this. Seeing no reply, Kushina was quite worried for a minute, but when she found out Naru-chan eyes were all goggled on her, she was glad, and now her face is burning like a volcano. Can't stand the embarrassment anymore. Kushina quickly pulled her bra back down again and also out on her t-shirt. "Well, good job. Now let's go get some dinner, my treat, and then we will come back for one final exercise. Don't worry, it won't be the last," said Kushina nervously as she quickly led the way and walked faster, as her face was burning from embarrassment now, while Naruto, who was still thinking about her, was pulled back to reality after 5 seconds, and that's when Kushina almost reached the town already. Naruto sat across from Kushina as they had just finished their food at their favorite restaurant in Konoha, Ichiraku Ramen. For Naruto, he has one more reason to visit the restaurant, which was admiring Ayame, the young chef. Just when they were preparing to leave, Naruto saw Anko arrive, and he knew that she was going to tease him and his mom a little like usual, which he is getting quite annoyed with. Sure, Anko is a young and beautiful shinobi with violet hair that is put in a spiky ponytail, and wore a long coat with fishnets underneath that show her gorgeous curve. Her unique style of dressing has attracted some young men to her, but when they learn about her unique hobby in snakes, most of them will be scared to even get close to her and will only admire the snake lover through a distance. Anko just waved at him from behind Kushina while she walked towards them. He just watched with raised eyebrows as she slipped onto the seat beside him and placed an arm around his shoulder to push him into the side of her, which she seemed to love doing. "Yo, Blondie, how's your day with your sensei?" "Fine, and it's good to see you too, Anko-san." Naruto greeted her while trying to get out from the firm hold of the snake lover while Kushina looked amused that her son struggled to get out of Anko's grip. On Naruto-kun, so you are on Kushi-chan's team. Hey Kushi-chan, you did get lucky, getting Naruto on your team, as I am sure he is a quite healthy boy. Anko teased while adding more force onto her grip. Sure, Naruto didn't mind feeling Anko's on the side of his face, as it just reminded him of how soft Kushina are, but her grip is quite deadly, almost making him hard to breathe. Anko, how many times do I have to tell you to not tease fellow male shinobi, especially not in public? If you keep this up, you will certainly enrage some female shinobi in the future. Kurenai said, who just happened to pass through here after she finished her training with her team and saw the scene. That's means Kur-chan, I'm just helping my Naruto-kun grow up faster. He has already learned about girls, now he just needs some experience. Anko teased playfully as she pulled the boy's head much closer to her, but her action was stopped when a chopstick suddenly flew just past her left ear and stuck onto the wall behind her and created a small crack. Ops, sorry, my hand slipped. Anko-chan, please go Naruto and go bother Kur-chan. Naruto, we can continue our talk when I am done later. Kushina said with a bit too nice smile as her hair began to defy gravity and start to float in the air. Sure, she is fine to let Naruto have contact with another female, but no way in hell she would allow someone to steal her Naru-chan away before her. But Kushi-chan, I'm bored. I want to watch you guys train and maybe I might even join in. Anko complained with a pout, but also quickly released her grip on Naruto when she felt the coldness that was sent toward. She has heard what harm can be done by a pissed-off Uzumaki. Momo, calm down Kushi-chan, I am sure Anko-chan didn't mean that way, right? How about I will treat you both for dinner later, how about it? Kurenai said nicely and tried to calm the crimson-hair Uzumaki down while looking between Naruto and Kushina, hoping the young blonde will help her to calm down his mom. So what now, sensei? Naruto asked with head tilt. It was quite a cute look with him looking so curious, and this is the only thing that Kushina can't resist. I will tell you as soon we are back at the training grounds, so let's go. Kushina replied after she calms down. Naruto's cute face may be one of her weaknesses that she can never overcome. After Kushina paid for their lunch and the damage on the wall, both of them waved off to Anko and Kurenai before shunshin away. Training Ground 80 Waterfall. Alright, we are here. If you spend more time with Anko, you will surely to be turned into a pervert, and the last thing I want is to have my son become a pervert just like a certain damn Sanin. With Jiraiya. Achoo. Is someone talking about me? Well, I hope as a very hot babe, as everyone loves the handsome and brilliant Jiraiya, the legendary Sanin. Ah, there is someone on the tree. A girl in the open-air onsen yelled, and immediately tons of things were thrown toward the direction of the so-called researcher Sanin. Back to Naruto. Don't worry Ka-sama, I promise I will behave. Naruto assured with a big grin, and Kushina knew that as well as she fully trusted him. Her boy has never gone down by his word, but this also quite worries her, as she knows her son will also be quite protective around her after their training. She has seen several times Naruto get very pissed if someone has planned anything bad to do with her, and he had already been in fights with his classmates when they made inappropriate remarks about her, and there isn't a time that he loses the fight with those boys. Alright then, let's just get on with the training. We have only one exercise for today and then we can go home. What I want you to do is to water walking up to the waterfall. For a moment Naruto thought his mom was joking to him. Sure, he may have learned how to tree walking and water walking. Heck, he can even dance on top of water, but walking on the waterfall is just something that seems to be ridiculous. Ka-sama, did I hear you right? You want me to walk up this waterfall? The blonde asked as he watched the furious water that came down fast from the top of the hill and continued without any stopping. Nope, you hear me right, and the key is to gather exactly the right amount of chakra in your feet and stabilize the water flow. If you use too much chakra you will be pushed off, and if you use too little you will fall off, just like both water and tree walking training, but this one is to combine both of them together. Kushina said with a thumb up, looking that Naruto was shocked and almost had the word, impossible, written on his face. Kushina then decided to motivate her Naru-chan a bit. Don't worry Naru-chan, if your performance remains good as last time, there will always be a chance to get a reward, as for this time. Kushina said as she took out a kunai before demonstrating how to water walk onto the waterfall. When she reached the top she stabbed the kunai onto the rock before she jumped down from the waterfall and safely landed beside Naruto. If you manage to retrieve that kunai back to me using this technique before sunset you will get a reward, so, good luck Naru-chan. Kushina said with a wink to motivate her student before she decided to take a seat on the grassland. Once the word, reward, was mentioned, Naruto's confidence gathered up once again, and began his work on measurement on how high the waterfall is and how much chakra he will need to get up there. After a complex calculation, the boy managed to calculate the amount of chakra required. Naruto then stripped down to his boxer and pushed his hands together, starting to allocate chakra into his feet. When he thought he had the right amount, he tried to walk up the side of the tree, but his feet didn't really stick, so he just slipped off and fell into the cold water. His second try, he actually managed to step up several steps, but as soon as he tried to take more steps he was quickly washed down by the water. Just try your best Naru-chan, it will surely take some time to reach the top. Kushina encouraged her son as she fell down onto the grass and enjoyed the sun, or well, she tried to. She watched as Naruto continued to get up and fall down and smile slightly as she remembers she was also being trained like this by Minato and Miko Ne-chan, and it took her 3 days to get to the top. Deciding to give a little motivation to her student, Kushina stood up and walked right past Naruto and up to the top of the waterfall as she was sure that his gaze had been following her to see what she was up to. When she reached the top, she then walked further a bit to make sure Naruto couldn't see what she was up to. Oops. As soon as he heard the sound, Naruto immediately spotted onto the kunai there was something being strapped on it. After he focused more onto the said object, he was surprised to find out that the said object is his sensei's all-red sports bra. Naru-chan, I have lost something up there. Can you help me to get it down? Kushina asked with a smile after she once again landed safely on the grass beside Naruto. He gulped and slowly lifted his gaze from the red sport bra and back to the source of the voice, but only saw Kushina back and saw her turn around, which only showed her face with a wink to him before she walked to the shadow of the tree and disappeared. Now with a face of determination, he tried again, and this time Naruto stood with both feet planted on the waterfall. Slowly and carefully, he took a step and then another, but when he almost reached halfway, he lost control and fell on his back. He tried again and again, but he kept losing control halfway through the waterfall. Ah, too bad, and here I thought someone would help me to retrieve it. Kushina teased as she once again appeared on the waterfall and took back her sports bra, but she did give Naruto some teased as she walked a little closer to the edge where Naruto can barely see her putting back her bra. Naruto immediately stood back up and took a few small breaths. Then tried again and again with a mind clear of thoughts as he slowly reached the halfway and almost reached the top. Kushina looked quite proud. Usually something like this would usually take a lot longer. Well, not that Naruto had perfected it, as his steps were quite unstable, but he had made it further than she expected him to. You can do it, Naruto. You know what you will get if you do get up there. Kushina cheered for him, but what she didn't realize is that the mentioning of his reward has backfire effect and would only distract him. Naruto was almost at the top, and just when he was within a meter away, the mention of reward surprised him greatly and his feet slipped under him. Thinking quick as he is not going to fail here, Naruto shot his legs onto the rock on the waterfall and used all his strength for a power jump. As soon as he did that, the rock was destroyed, but he successfully reached the top of the waterfall and yanked the kunai out from the stone. Yes, the blonde exclaimed happily. Just after he yanked the kunai out, hours of water walking on the waterfall had finally paid off and the kunai in his hand was proof of his victory. Congratulations Naru-chan, Kushina said with a prideful smile, as she shunshin beside her Naru-chan. She was very proud and happy that her Naru-chan could actually make it to the kunai before sunset. Now as your reward I will let you choose, you can either choose the reward as last 2 time or sensei actually. Kushina could barely hear his words when Naruto decided to grab her hand and led her into deeper part of the forest where there was a lesser chance to be seen by other teams. Kushina wasn't sure where he was taking her and what he was going to ask, but seeing him so nervous, Kushina was being affected as well and had some healthy pink blush on her face while allowing herself to be pulled by Naruto towards the dense woods. So, she followed him and let him take her further into the woods. Now she was really curious and apprehensive as to what he was going to ask. Soon they were almost completely surrounded by tall thick trees and bushes. Naru-chan, I think this is far enough already, no one should be here. Kushina assured Naruto with a small grin which caused the blonde to rub the back of his head with a nervous chuckle. No need to be so nervous Naru-chan, I also wish to hear what kind of reward you want. Kushina stated before she straightened her t-shirt so that a little of her cleavage was visible, not too much as she didn't want anyone in the village getting a look at her. She did like the attention but she didn't want to show them any more skin as they might get the wrong idea that she was flaunting her body and encouraging them, as it was bad enough that there are rumors about, she was a whore that will spread her legs for anyone, and that's annoyed her to no end. Alright Ka-sama, can I please request a different reward? Naruto asked in a pretty low voice which caused Kushina to shake her head to clear her thoughts and give him a skeptical look. Sir. Sure. Let's hear about it Tatabane. Is he thinking what I am thinking? After 14 years is it? But is he still too young for da? Kushina was first quite shocked about Naruto's boldness but quickly reacted cool on the outside as rubbed her thumb nervously while her cheeks blushing bright red with her mind was going a mile long already. Ka-sama, can I please kiss you? Naruto asked as he ended in a quiet tone and quickly stated, looking around, anywhere but meeting her eyes because he also can't believe that he actually spit it out loud and now his face is like the color of his mother's hair. Much to Kushina's surprise, she was preparing that maybe he will request something more, but never less. Oh why do you want this kind of reward? Kushina asked, trying to act cool in front of her son, but the truth is her mind is going overload right now as steam was coming out from her head and she couldn't even look straight at her son now. I am sorry if I am asking for too much Ka-sama. But I think you are really beautiful and I want my first kiss to be with you. Naruto said after gathering up his courage, before he grabbed both of her hands with both of his, meeting his blue eyes looked straight into her violet ones. Even though both are meeting each other's gaze but their mind has been both overloaded and unknown to him, this is also Kushina's first kiss as she never let anyone touch her before. Alright. I will agree. A kiss if that you want. Then it shall be a kiss. Kushina stated out loudly, with her mind tossed and she didn't even know what she was talking about right now. Kushina watched how his face slowly approached hers while she tried to do the same. Slowly Naruto closed his sapphire blue eyes when his lips were only inches from hers and Kushina sneaked her hands around her student's waist to steady herself when their lips touched. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't believe I'm actually kissing Ka-sama, she tastes sweet and her lips are so soft against mine. Naruto thought as their kiss slowly deepened, their lips moved both with and against each other at every chance. It was a soft kiss. Both Naruto and Kushina were very insecure. This was both Naruto and Kushina's first kiss, so they were inexperienced and Kushina's mind almost exploded as she also enjoyed the kiss with her Naru-chan but didn't know what to do next. Should I try to move my tongue against her lips? I really shouldn't try anything or Ka-sama might back off, but it's so good. The blonde wondered as their kiss was beginning to grow in passion, but he also needed to breathe. When he slowly opened his eyes, he noticed that his senseis were dangling before his eyes as they kissed. They looked amazing. Dangling heavily as his sensei was leaned over. He knew his sensei might punish him for doing it, but he really wanted to touch them, so as his sensei was concentrating on kissing him, he moved his hands towards his sensei's. Gently and very carefully while their lips were still engaged in a firm lip lock, Naruto placed his hands on her soft. His sensei had not reacted when his hands made contact with his, so he began to play with them, molding and pushing them to his heart's content as Kushina is now wearing only her red sports bra from earlier. She didn't pull away or grab his hand, instead letting him get away with it, and quickly as to not miss this golden opportunity he carried on fondling her rear. Feeling both his hands squeezing her as she just moaned in approval. He kisses me. He kisses me. What should I do? What should I do? Just as Naruto thought, his sensei is currently being overblown by the things happening around her and begins to panic. Finally, with big gasps for air they separated from each other, both had red faces and Kushina's mind was racing at what she had just done. Thank you, thanks sensei, that was incredible. Naruto said with his face blushing bright red and refused to meet Kushina's gaze since he was too embarrassed for now. Yeah, you know what Naruto, maybe you should head home first, I will see you later. Kushina replied with her face steaming red, and without giving any chance of argument, she quickly shunshin away and left Naruto at the forest. Kushina's room. Ah, we kisses. We actually kiss. Kushina yelled in her room as she hugs her pillow tightly while rolling on the floor like a high school student. HNG. Finally get the first thing you want. Kushina. Said a deep booming voice that rings in Kushina's mind and causes her immediately to calm down. Kurama. It's truly fun to watch you human to be happy about some silly things such as this. The giant nine-tails fox said, as he lays lazily in the seal while only opening an eye to look at the scene that his host is seeing. Hey, it's not silly. Whatever, tch, but you do know that your little activity can't be found out by others, right, or both of you will be in a big trouble. Yeah, sigh, I know, but I also wish that the day that I can reveal Naruto's true heritage can be sooner. Tch, I don't really care about that Uchiha scum boy, but do remember just now I have feel his dirty bloodline is about to be awakened, and I suggest you to do something about his damn crimson eyes, or there will certain be a lot of trouble if the old monkey find out that he is an Uchiha scum. Kurama said, and without giving Kushina any more chances to ask, he simply cut off the link and went back to sleep. Naru-chan's bloodline, my Naru-chan is going to activate his Sharingan. Mumbled Kushina as she began to plan for their life after Naruto awakened his bloodline. Night time. Naruto's room. Sigh, I have totally it up. Mumbled the blonde to himself while has his head laying on the desk and sign out loudly. I think she is so mad about me and left me at the forest alone. Knock, knock, come in. Naruto answered as he slowly turned his head toward the door, but was surprised to find his mom smiling happily at him while holding a paper in her hand. Ka-sama, hee, Naru-chan, I have gift for you. Kushina said happily as she lends out the paper in her hand to Naruto. As I promise, you finish the training before sunset and you will receive your reward, and so you did. And this is the gift for being a good kisser. Kushina said and softly peeked on Naruto's right cheek. Good night, Naru-chan. Uzumaki said with a big grin before walking out the room and left a surprised Naruto alone in his room to figure out the past minute event. What wa? Ka-sama isn't mad, Naruto mumbled as he looked at the paper in his hand before slowly and carefully opening the paper as he was quite excited and worried about what it contained. A seal formula. Naruto thought as he inspected the piece of paper, and the only thing contained in the paper is only a level 5 storage seal. After doing several hand seals, release, which turned out to be the red sports bra that Kushina wore during their training session. That night, a yelling of joy was heard throughout Konoha while a blonde boy was dancing happily in his room. Inside the shower, Kushina felt cold water spray down upon her body and rethink the event that just happened today. First, she had gotten too excited and finally kissed Naruto. Second, she was unprepared that Naruto would be able to awaken the Uchiha bloodline from Miko's side soon, as it was quite rare to have a half-blood Uchiha to active Sharingan. She has heard that some main clan members did face difficulty to awaken their bloodline, and some may even get kicked out of the clan for being unable to awaken their bloodline. After refreshing herself, Kushina steps out of the water and puts on a robe before heading out the bathroom. After she decided to make some dinner, mostly ramen, for herself and Naruto, Kushina walked toward the kitchen. When she reached the front door of the kitchen, she could hear someone humming happily in the kitchen while cooking. Full of curiosity, Kushina decided to peeking out from the door and saw a very cheerful Naruto who seemed to be in a good mood. "Naru-chan, why are you so happy?" Kushina asked after she walked into the kitchen, as her son is in an unusually good mood now, and from the looks of the dining table it looks like that he had finished preparing the dinner for both of them. "Ka-sama, you know exactly why, but I am in an even better mood because I was being told that most fresh graduate genin team are being stuck on doing D-rank mission while I have been personal trained by you and be one step closer to achieve my dream." Naruto explained happily as he set the bowls of ramen onto the table. "Naru-chan, every genin began with D-rank missions and I did too when I was your age." Kushina replied as she recalled the day she was still genin and being taught by both Minato and Miko Ne-chan. I know, and I am very happy for being taught by a wonderful sensei such as you, Ka-sama," Naruto said cheerfully, as he hugs Kushina tightly and makes Kushina to blush a bit while also feeling happy for being able to teach her Naru-chan. "Thanks, Ka-sama. I love you." "I love you too, Naru-chan. Now let's have our dinner, shall we?" That's smell good," both Uzumaki said in unison, making the Uzumaki mansion filled with joy and laughter all night long. Next morning. The next morning, Kushina prepared herself like usual. She dressed in all black except for her green Junin vest and put her hair back into a ponytail before heading out the door. Today she will be teaching Naruto more about how to spar with seal art technique, as a truth seal master will not only know about how to use the seal to seal or store things but to create seals to battle. "Morning, Ka-sama." Naruto greeted her happily as he has finished his breakfast and was waiting for Kushina at the couch while examining the seal he had prepared in his pocket. "Good morning, Naru-chan. I see you have quite prepared for our training." Kushina replies teasingly as she hugs her son from behind and accidentally presses her closely to the boy's back. "Ka-sama. Hehe. Let's go out then," Kushina said rather playfully and walked out the house with Naruto following right beside her. Training Ground 9. Upon the arrival of both Uzumakis, they were surprised to find out that their own team's training ground was being filled with other genin teams unlike usual, which there won't be anyone to bother them since the training ground is quite far away. Among the genin teams there are some counselors, clan heads and civilians, but most importantly the third Hokage was presented as well at the training ground. "Kushina-san, over here," exclaimed a rather happy Yuhi Kurenai while waving happily to the Uzumakis. She was also presented in the training ground with her team. There were also several teams presented like Team 7, which led by John and Kakashi, who's unsurprisingly that their team leader hasn't show up yet, Team 8 led by Kurenai, Team 10 that led by Asuma, Team Guy that lead by the Green Beast, which being the most energetic group that has been yelling youth and doing push-up all the time. "Glad you are here, Uzumaki-san," the old Hokage said with a smile after he noticed the arrival of Team 9. "Hokage-sama, what's going on here? I don't recall that I received any notice about there will be an event held at my team's training ground today." Kushina asked with a bit annoyed but hid it well, as she wasn't sure what was happening around her team training ground, while the third Hokage just smiled warmly at her like a grandfather and replied, "The clan heads and counselors have decided to inspect our future shinobi generation, Since today is the 100th birthday, I am not sure of it XD, of the second Hokage, I see no reason to against their suggestion. Sorry I am late, there's a black cat in. Liar. Exclaimed all members of Team 7 as this earns several snickers from other genin teams while has the old Hokage sigh in defeat. Well, I think that's all genin teams, so let's begin today's event. Hiruzen stated, which only increased more questions for Kushina, but just when she tried to state her mind, she felt Kurenai pull on her jacket. Hokage-sama told us that the council decided to see the training result in all our genin teams, since this year we have many heir and heiress among the teams, so they wished to inspect each genin on what have they learnt so far. Oh, and why didn't I get any notice? Well, we were also informed this morning that the decision was being made suddenly. I have heard from Hokage-sama's secretary that the decision was only made this morning and the counselor was all in the favor to inspect the grow of that certain boy. Whisper Kurenai quietly and point her finger toward Team 7. Following her finger, Kushina immediately know what the counselors were up to, and have the crimson hair Uzumaki to curse those greedy counselors, as their aim is only toward Sasuke boy. They only want to have a Sasuke personal performance show, while all the members from other group may just be the punching back for him. If she also informs her earlier, she may not come to training ground 9 today. After the death of Minato, the power of counselor has been at a loose end. The civil counselor has not only taken control of the Namikaze but also the Uchiha seat, and she even heard some rumors that they wished to control both Uzumaki and Senju seats also. Most civilian counselor that was formed up by businessman woman didn't treat shinobi with respect but only treat Konoha shinobi as their personal toy. They used Jonin to do their dirty work, used Chunin to steal information from their competitor, and used Genin as toy in the gladiator ground, enjoying the younger generation kill each other while have their wallet full. Alright then, since we have so many genin teams present, how about we decide the battle with numbers? Now each team leader please come forward and pick a number from the box. Third Hokage said nicely, as each team leader moves forward to the box and picks up a folded paper from the box. No matter how much Kushina hates this, but she can only proceed as ordered. She knew clearly that most counselors are just interested in the so-called great and powerful Sharingan. Seriously though, before the Uchiha clan being wiped out, those counselors have demanded more than enough time to limit the power of the Uchiha clan and refused to have any business relationship with the Uchiha, forming a total isolated circle for the Uchiha, just like treating a lion in a cage. And now so-called Uchiha Kisser were all the one that responsible for the Uchiha clan betrayal. Kushina didn't know whether those bastard felt guilty for the destroyed of Uchiha clan, or they just want to have another powerful shinobi that can rival first Hokage to be under their control. Kakashi. 1. Kushina. 2. Kurenai. 5. Guy. 6. Asuma. 3. So it has been decided. The first match will be Team Kakashi versus Team Kushina. The old Hokage stated and had Kushina raise up her hand. Hokage-sama, isn't it unfair for my team? As my team only consists of 1 student while Team Kakashi has 3 students. Kushina questioned, but before the old Hokage can make any suggestion, he was quickly interrupted by one of the elder Koharu. Uzumaki-san, we strongly believe that your team has the ability to stand up against other team. You are the best seal master Konoha can offer, and if your student fails, it only means that he is not worthy for your time, and we shall help you to get new genin into your team. Koharu replied, which surprised both the Hokage and Kushina and made the said Uzumaki clench her fist tightly while trying to control her temper. So that's those have in their mind to let Naru-chan single-handle 3 genins or force me to give up training Naru-chan. Counselor Koharu, today's event should be a fair duel between team, not some kind of gang fighting. I will kindly have another 2 members from other team to join in. Replied the old Hokage, as he just thought that this was just a wrong statement from his fellow counselor, but soon the reality has slapped his face real hard. No, I agree on Counselor Koharu's suggestion. I agree, were the sound from the civilian counselors, even with such unfair pairing, they gave less care about the fairnesses. Who were they kidding? They have put lots of their money on the Uchiha and it is better that the boy doesn't lose. Well, Genins, please prepare yourself and go into the preliminary circle. The lone-eye old war hawk stated. He has been inspecting the whole scene quietly until now. He didn't want the argument to continue on, for his own perspective he has nothing to lose. If the Uchiha win, the counselor will be more likely to side with him, seeing that he acted in their interest. If the Uzumaki brat wins, which seems impossible, he can make the prideful Uchiha leave the current shinobi team and join his root program. Watching Team 7 has walked into the preliminar, Kushina tries to make another argument but feels Naruto's hand gently pat on her shoulder. Don't worry sensei, I won't lose. Naruto assured her with determination, and looking into the eyes of her son, Kushina saw the shadow of her hero Namikaze Minato, like father like son. Naruto now shares the same gaze just like Minato when someone dares to threaten his family. And with that gaze, Minato never ever loses any battle. Please be careful then, Naruto. Kushina said, as she knows that there is no point to argue with her son anymore after he had made up his mind and now she just has to be confident in his abilities. You are going down this time, dope. The Inuzuka heir mocked with a snicker and stood right beside his teammates, the last Uchiha heir Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura. Ready, begin, Danzo declared. Once the signal was given, Kiba quickly rushed toward Naruto with his claws aiming to his head, which the blonde simply sidestepped to evade the advancement of Kiba while pulling out his own kunai to counter the kunai barrage sent by Sasuke. Watching that his surprise attack fail, the Uchiha quickly pulled out another kunai and reverse grabbed it before he rushed toward the blonde boy and delivered a barrage of attacks. Stay still, you dope, the Inuzuka yelled angrily, as his several attempts to cut off his opponent's head failed, with the blonde simply sidestep every time while focused on dealing with the Uchiha, which only made the Inuzuka even angrier. Get out of my way, Inu. The prideful Uchiha ordered, as he jumped backward and pulled out a scroll. With a sound of "pof," barrage of kunais were sent toward the direction of Naruto and Kiba. Clank, clank, clank. Are you trying to kill me, you jerk? The Inuzuka yelled furiously, as he almost got shot by kunai sent by his teammate. If not, Naruto quickly kicked him away before the attack. Elite doesn't need any help, was all Sasuke replied before he once again rushes toward Naruto. Like hell you are an elite, yelled the Inuzuka, and once again crouching down and has his fang grow longer. Fang over fang, Kiba exclaimed as he turned himself into a small tornado, rushing toward both Naruto and Uchiha. Sensing the incoming attack, both ninjas decided to kick off the land by performing a backflip to dodge the attack. However, not all genin can perform a backflip. Yet, the poor Sakura has to be one of those whose physical training has not developed much since graduation. She may be the most brilliant in class, but when it comes to real combat, she always imagines her Sasuke-kun will protect her in shining armor. Currently in front of her was a wind tornado formed by his teammate rushing straight toward her. Clank. The predicted hit didn't landed on Sakura. With a loud clashing sound of metal, Kiba tornado was being directed to another direction and Sakura was safe but not being rescued by the hero in her mind, by rather it was the blonde Uzumaki came in her aid while has his hand bleeding for blocking a wind tornado directly. Are you trying to kill your own teammate? Naruto yelled angrily toward both Uchiha and Inuzuka. HNG, no one tells her to stand like a log at there. If she gets her, it probably because of her own carelessness. Kiba replied like it was never his fault. Quite. Teamwork, your team have, Kakashi. Kushina mocked dryly while trying her best not to jump into the battlefield and send the Inuzuka flying as he dared to hurt her precious Naru-chan. Sakura, get away from. Shut up, Baka. I didn't need your help. Sasuke-kun would be the one to save me if not because of you. Instead of giving thanks to the one who just saved her, Naruto was being hit by a punch in the face by Sakura, as she still thought it was because of Naruto interference that caused her Sasuke-kun to fail saving her in time. Haha. Serve you right. Trying to flirt with a girl. Kiba mocked while laughing hard, and the Uchiha also stood there while watching the rather hilarious event that just happened in front of him. TCH. Naruto hisses in pain as he uses his still bleeding hand to wipe away the blood on his mouth while quickly dodging Sakura's second punch before knocking Sakura out with the back of his kunai, and the so-called kunoichi of the year fell unconscious rather quickly. Haha. Why wouldn't you say something dope? Too afraid to say anything? Or perhaps you want to hide under the skirt of your sensei? Watching the injuries that the blonde got only make the Inuzuka mocked even loudly, and this earns several genin team leaders to look toward Kakashi, who just lowers his head in shame. Quote, I should be the student of Kushina-chan, as I am the alpha, and a beauty like her should only be deserved by an alpha and not a dope like you. The Inuzuka mocked loudly, which, unknown to him, his mother Sume was also present as well. The said woman had her fist clenched tightly in anger and shame. Being the heir of Inuzuka, has given too much privilege to Kiba, as almost everything he wants will be given to him by his clan, and now he thought that he should claim Kushina as well. Don't you? Kushi-chan, I will forgive you, even you have spread your legs to some random man and to give birth dope, and once I defeat him, you will know who is the one really deserve you. Don't you? The blonde mumbled out in a very low voice with his lower that no one could see his face. Time to end this. Fang over Fang. Kiba exclaimed once more, as he turned into a small tornado, rushing toward Naruto, who has his kunai clenched tightly in his hand and has his blood streaming down his arm. Just when the tornado almost reaches the blonde. Don't you ever dare to insult Ka-sama! Roared Naruto angrily, as in that moment his ocean blue eyes turn into crimson color with three tomos. In a sudden he vanishes in front of Kiba, and next thing happens was the tornado was being hit by something hard and crashed into the earth, creating a thick dust cloud. Thinking that the blonde may been hurt, the Uchiha quickly rushed into the dust cloud and flashing hand signs. Fire release, great fireball! The Uchiha exclaimed, but due to the dust cloud, the audience can only see a fireball was created and soon vanish, but among the dust cloud they suddenly spotted a pair of crimson eyes suddenly appear, and with a sound of bone breaks, the eyes disappear and reappear again with another bone cracking sound. Uchiha! Uchiha-sama has awakened his Sharingan. The counselors roared happily, as their gambling had higher hope of winning with the Uchiha awoke his Sharingan, but unlike the civilian counselor, the shinobi clan head, Junin, were unsurprised, or in better terms not feeling much excitement for Uchiha to awaken his bloodline. No, that didn't seem like Sasuteme's Sharingan, was the inner thought of Kushina as she inspected closely on the eyes. Within the dust cloud, the dust has limited the vision of both male members of Team 7, they can't even see a thing inside the dust cloud and can only guess where the blonde was and throw their kunai toward that direction. Crack! Ah! Kiba yelled in pain as he was being hit directly in the stomach and sent him flying. Show yourself! Sasuke yelled angrily, but when he heard a loud sound coming from his right, he immediately threw another barrage of kunai toward there. Thinking that the blonde is going to attack from there, but instead all of his kunai was directly hit on the flying Inuzuka. Looking for me? Asked a voice suddenly appeared behind Sasuke, and when he swung his kunai around, he missed, and next thing he knows is that someone kicked rather hard on his abdomen. With the awakening of his bloodline, Naruto can see the movement of his opponents clearly. After he releases the training seal on his body, his speed increases tremendously. In simplified terms, those two other genins can't even follow up his movement until they are hit. Show yourself! Fire release! Great fireball! The enraged Uchiha roared as he breathed out a large fireball, but hatred must have clouded his mind as he didn't think twice before he released the fireball. The fire that he performed was flying directly toward the direction of Hokage and the counselors. Wind release! Great breakthrough! The blonde Uzumaki exclaimed, forming a large wind blade and cutting the fireball in half before it hit the audience. With now the cloud of dust being blown off, The one who still seems fine and standing in the field is not the one that most counselors expected but the proud student of Kushina. Yield, Naruto stated as he looked at his opponent, while his still bleeding hand struggled to hold a kunai. His opponents are in much worse shape than him as Kiba has one leg broken and the Uchiha has his arm broken. You damn dope. Kiba, don't. The elder sister of Kiba yelled in terror as she looked at her brother who once again applied all his chakra into his hands and legs. Fang over fang, exclaimed Kiba and turns into a tornado charge forward, but the thing shocked the audience more is fire release. Great fireball. Without any care for his teammate while Kiba charging toward the blonde Uzumaki, the Uchiha also breathed out a fireball aiming toward the blonde but instead hitting on the blonde. The fireball collided with the charging tornado first. Normal people will definitely dodge this kind of attack but not for Naruto. Instead of running away like everyone will do, the blonde just stands his ground and waits for the charging tornado. When the tornado is close enough, a seal appears in his hand and immediately the tornado changes direction and follows the movement of Naruto's hand to turn a circle before it charges toward the direction of Uchiha. Watching the burning tornado with horror, the Uchiha quickly jumped out of the way, but strangely the tornado was like being attracted by him. It also changed its direction and aimed straight forward at the Uchiha. And unknown to the Uchiha, when Naruto last punched him, he has also applied a gravity seal on the back of the Uchiha, and Kiba's also has one on his body, as this caused both members of Team 7 turns into magnet-like and boom. Uchiha-sama. Kiba, Sochi. The counselors and the Inuzuka clan head's family yelled in horror as they quickly rush into the circle before the Hokage declared the winner. Laying on the floor unconscious are both Uchiha and Inuzuka Kiba, as the Uchiha chest was hit directly and caused him to have several bones to break, and the Inuzuka was in worse shape as he has third-degree burn and has his leg bones broken. Fu. Naruto, are you okay? Kushina asked as she also quickly rushed toward her Naru-chan. Yeah, I am fine thanks sense. Sorry Naru-chan, but this will hurt a bit. Whisper Kushina quietly just beside Naruto as she temporarily seals off the chakra of Naruto and causes him to fall unconscious. Hokage-sama, I think that shall be all for my team, as my students has overuses his chakra and in no shape to continue his fight. Kushina said and caused the Hokage to turn his attention toward the crimson hair Uzumaki. Oh, but, and judging by the scene which my student is the last one who's still able to stands, I thinks that my student has to be worthy for my teaching, then I will now take my leave then, and Hokage-sama, please do consider the well-being of your shinobi first next time. Kushina stated without giving any chances for the old Hokage to make his reply, and before she shunshin away she heard the voice of Sume Inuzuka apologize to her. Sigh, Kakashi, I may need to have a talk with you. The third old Hokage said with a sigh as he thought that Team 7 will be working quite well and maybe the strongest team in this generation, since both Kiba and Sasuke can be powerhouses. Not to mention with the help of both family bloodlines, Inuzuka clan's Fang over Fang and Uchiha's Sharingan, plus Sakura healing ability and also the brain of the whole team. Do I really get too old to let the counselor alter my decision? The old Hokage thought while recalling the event that just happened. Uzumaki Mansion. Several hours later evening. Naru-chan, Naru-chan. Ka-sama. The blonde asked as he slowly opened up his eyes and found out that he is in his own room and has his arms covered in bandages with his mother just staying beside him. Thank God you are awake. Kushina exclaimed happily as she proceeded to hug her son tightly. I am sorry Naru-chan, I accidentally uses the seal that used to seal of tailed beast's chakra to temporary seal off yours. Kushina apologizes as she quickly checks on the chakra pulse of Naruto and finds out that everything is fine. Thank God. Ka-sama, why did you seal off my chakra? Naru-chan, try to apply chakra into your eyes and looks into the mirror. Kushina suggested that, full of questions, Naruto still applied his chakra into his eyes and took the small mirror that was given by Kushina and looked into it. This is. Yup. Congratulations Naru-chan, you have successfully awakened your Sharingan and with 3 tomos no less. Exclaimed a happy Kushina while her son was still in shock seeing that he has awakened something that it may not seem possible but that also means. Ka-sama, does this mean my father is an Uchiha? Naruto asked and this immediately surprised Kushina as she was shocked that Naruto would suddenly give her such difficult questions to answer. What should I do? I don't think Naru-chan is ready to take the last name of Minato-kun but I don't want to lie to Naru-chan. Kushina thought in panic as she quickly thought of ways to answer Naruto's question. Naru-chan, Kushina said, as she softly pat on Naruto's head and whisper at his ear. Sorry Naru-chan, you are not ready to know who is your father but I can assure you that he is a great hero and a hero who wished to save the world. Whisper Kushina gently and softly around Naruto's ear and the blonde can only nod as understanding is no point to force his Ka-sama to tell him. Naru-chan, how about you go to take a bath first? I will prepare your reward, as to celebrate your victory against Team 7 Inches. Okay. Said Naruto as he got up from his bed. Oh and Naru-chan, please remember not to activate your Sharingan in front of other teams or shinobi of Konoha as it will be a lot of trouble if they find out that you have the Sharingan. Kushina said and had Naruto return with a nod before he went out of the room. Bathroom. Ah, this is the best. Mumbled the blonde to himself as he sits in the bathtub while enjoying the hot water comfortably. I really wonder who my father is, or who I inherited my Sharingan from. I wonder if I have Sharingan. Does that also mean that I can copy other shinobi art like Kakashi? Thought Naruto to himself while trying to remember the fight scene against Team 7. Wait, Naruto thought as he could remember the hand sign of the great fireball that Sasuke used clearly. Naru-chan, are you in there? I am coming in. But before Naruto could get excited about his new ability, the door of the bathroom was suddenly being opened by his mom who was wearing only a towel to cover up her gorgeous body. Special thanks to XX-san for helping me in this scene XD. Ka-sama, Naru-chan, are you happy with your reward? Come here, I will wash you back. Said Kushina teasingly while has the blonde's face to be burning bright red and can only look at his mother's gorgeous body without too many clothes to cover up, from her beautiful face to her gorgeous and large to her round and big rear and finally her long and slim legs. Earth to Naru-chan, can you read me, over? Teased Kushina playfully as she softly poked on Naruto's forehead and brought him back to reality. Hee hee. Come out of the bathtub Naru-chan, I will help you to wash your back. Said Kushina while Naruto quickly climbed out of the bathtub and sit right straight with his face trying to not look at his mother's body. Naru-chan, although I am proud of your actions today but seriously Naru-chan, you cannot risk yourself like that ever again, you hear me? The next time I see you like that I am going to punish you Databane. Said Kushina scolding Naruto for hot-headed actions at the spar earlier. Though, she can't help but feel happy inside seeing Naruto fighting to protect her honor. But it's still bad charging ahead straight into the battle without thinking, somewhat cute too. No, what was she thinking? It was definitely dangerous. Yes Ka-sama, but they said that you are a whore. Naruto said with anger in his tone as his Sharingan was unconsciously being active again and had his hand clutch into a fist. Naru-chan, I am glad that you would protect my honor and I know that they were saying bad stuff about me, that happens all the time, but I can take care of that myself. Your mother is an awesome kunoichi, is she not? Chided Kushina as she softly patted on Naruto's head with happiness filling her voice. And Naru-chan, as for today's reward, you are not allowed to look directly at me but I will allow you to look into there. Said Kushina as Naruto follows the direction where Kushina pointed and found a large mirror, but the most important part is, when the second Kushina saw Naruto look into the mirror, she decided to discard her tower and left her bare. In that moment Naruto almost has his eyes fly out from his socket as he can't believe what he just witnessed. With the mirror he can almost get a full view of Kushina's body. with her huge mounds moving up and down in rhythm with her breathing. Her pink S are somehow erect while washing his strong back. Ops. I dropped the sponge, can you help me to get it? Asked Kushina with a smile as with his shaky hands Naruto slowly reached for the sponge, but before he touched it, he felt something soft was pressed tightly onto his back. Glup. The feeling is so wonderful as the things are so soft and bouncy. With excitement and nervousness, the blonde slowly raises his gaze and looks into the mirror. Naru-chan, do you like the sponge I used to wash your back? Asked Kushina. As for Naruto, he almost passed out from nose blood as his thought was right. The sponge that Kushina uses to wash his back are none other than her huge soft mounds that are currently rubbing up and down of his back. All done. Naru-chan, can you kindly help me to wash my back? Asked Kushina as she turns over and has her back facing Naruto. Once again, with shaking hands, the blonde slowly applies shampoo onto the sponge and moves up and down on Kushina's milky white back. In that moment, Naruto is moving his body very carefully so as not to accidentally brush his rod against his mother's smooth white back. He marveled at how, despite having huge physical prowess, her body still feels soft to his touch. He kneaded his hand around her shoulder, hoping that he was doing a good job at massaging her shoulder when he felt her tense muscle relax and a soft moan escaped his mother's lips. That was great, Naru-chan, you're surprisingly talented in this. Would you consider open a massage shop when you become an adult? Asked Kushina as she was astonished at his skills. I mean, I don't think so, Ka-sama. I still want to be the strongest shinobi there ever is, Dadbayo. Answered Naruto as he almost lost his mind in that second as the view in front of him is too beautiful. I believe that you can achieve your dream, after all, you're my student. Thanks, Ka-sama, that means a lot to me. Naruto said while blushing. Since you did a great job for washing my back earlier, I'll give you one more reward. Declared Kushina as she suddenly turned around and hugged Naruto, pushing his head between her. Here, have a taste of these twins, said the crimson-haired Uzumaki with a teasing tone as there are still some bubbles covering her body, but moreover she looks more wire in her current state. As Kushina slowly raises her right leg signaling Naruto to have a taste of it, his mind only fills with the beautiful in front of him. Naruto quickly on her pink without any mercy and had his left hand moved up and grabbed her right and stated fondling it. Not so tough. Mounted Kushina as this makes Naruto give more into his desire as he begins to and fondle Kushina more furiously. As for Kushina, she unconsciously begins to rub her thighs together. Almost losing to his desire, the blonde slowly moves his left hand away and slowly travels along the slim stomach of Kushina and goes all the way down. But when he almost reached the more holy place of Kushina, he was suddenly stopped by Kushina letting go of him. Naru-chan, that's wonderful, but I don't think it's the time for you to touch me there, said Kushina teasingly as she looks into Naruto's eyes with love and passion. Let's finish our bath and have dinner, ya. Naru-chan. That night, after saying good night, Kushina went directly into her room and closed the door behind her. But when the door was closed shut, what have I done? Yelled a blushing Kushina while rolling on her bed while hugging her pillow tightly. HNG, isn't that what you want? But I don't think that my other self would be so bold. TCH, I can't never understand you, human. You are the one who requested me to seal away your fear temporary, and now you are feeling scared about something you want. Kurama. Whatever. The giant demon nine-tailed fox said with a smirk before he cut off the link he shares with Kushina and put an additional claw mark on the wall before he happily went to sleep. A week had passed since the friendly spar with Team 7, and soon not after the spar ended. A lot has happened since then. First, Kushina was being summoned to the council, as she fully expected. The council was quite mad at her student for hurting their last precious Uchiha heir who holds the most powerful dujutsu in the elemental nations. As for Kushina, She didn't really care how much damage the Uchiha boy had received from the matches. She knew well that the counselors did not truly care for the boy since they only treated the boy as their most powerful tool to help them earn more money. She was also quite aware the fact that behind the mask of those counselors, know or unknown about her identity, they were still aware of her status of Kyuubi's Jinchuriki had live in the wall. If she decides to leave Konoha, most counselor would probably beg the third Hokage to bring her back. Until the end of the meeting, there was no punish given by the third Hokage, even though the civilian counselors strongly suggested that the third Hokage to disband Team 9 and rearrange other students to kushina teams, but their suggestion was immediately turned down by the third Hokage with the threat of throwing several leading civilian out the meeting. Second, Kushina had continued the training she planned for Naruto, while slowly increasing the intensity as the awaken of Naruto bloodline may cause even more trouble to them now. It is lucky that Naruto only awakened his Uchiha bloodline alone. For now, she has heard from the elder in Uzumaki that the Namikaze bloodline may be more destructive, but that may be just rumor as there isn't any famous Namikaze known to the world except Minato. Not to mention, Kushina and Naruto had been running around Konoha doing D-rank missions. Sometimes it would just be the two of them on the mission, and other times they would be joining one of the other teams from Naruto's years. Which annoyed Naruto to no end, but he still managed to learn lots of stuff after the mission was over. During Kushina's younger age, she used to stay in Uchiha clan head houses when she was with Minato, thus she still managed to unlock the seal formula of the clan head's library during midnight and secretly retrieve some scroll about Sharingan from the Uchiha district to Naruto. Today, we found Kushina and Naruto making their way toward the Hokage Tower with the said young blonde holding a cage which contains a dangerous raging beast and was the nightmare of all Konoha genin Tora. Meow, meow, sensei, can I just throw this beast away? Naruto asked in annoyed as this is the fourth time that they were sent to retrieve the stupid cat that somehow keep running away from the noble wife house. Well, although I have the same wish to dispose of this cat Naru-chan, but, you know the rule. Kushina replied with an apologetic smile, while she looks at the annoyed faces that her student has on his face, which in her opinion is quite cute as he still has some baby fat on his face. But, Kushina said with a change in her expression and walks closer to Naruto before whisper in a low voice which only Naruto can hear. You did a very good job for finding the cat within 10 minutes, so I will give you a small reward after we finished this mission. Is that alright to you? Kushina teased playfully and had dozens of thoughts swimming in her mind, but the sudden hand landed on her right cheek with a smack and then another on her left cheek surprised her greatly and made the said Uzumaki go completely